On this episode of Red Cape Learning, I'm going to talk about the 4 settings that I pay attention to every time I'm filming with the camera. Number 1, you want to pay attention to the resolution. So if your camera only has HD, that is okay. Try to aim for the highest resolution possible that your camera can capture. There's going to be several reasons for this. Number 1, it's going to look more professional. When you're filming, for example, a minimum of 1080p HD, especially if you can film 1080p versus 1080i. 1080i will be interlaced, so you're not going to have the up and down lines. You're just going to have the side lines. And I'll give you an example right here. So if you can film at 1920 by 1080p, that is going to be full HD resolution, progressive. This is going to give you very good detail in your image. You're also going to be able to crop in a little bit if you have to. And then even moving on further, if you can film in 4K, this is going to look really good. Even though you're going to export in maybe 720p for online or HD resolution, it's still going to look better if you can record at the highest quality possible that your camera can capture. You're always going to end up with a better end result. Having a lot of resolution is going to help. And again, let's move on to number 2. Number 2 is going to be recording at 24 frames per second. In my opinion, this is the cinematic look. When you look at old films like Gladiator, when you think of The Dark Knight, when you think of new films that come out, 24 frames per second is the desired choice. In my opinion, it looks that much better than 30 frames per second. And if you're getting into 60 frames per second, that is fine. But if it's not slowed down, the effect isn't quite there in my opinion. So at a base level, if you're not shooting slow motion, again, if you're filming in slow motion, obviously the higher frame rate is going to allow you to slow things down and have a fluid look. But 24 frames per second is going to be vital. So that's going to be number 2. Number 3 is going to be prioritizing your shutter speed at 50 or double your frame rate. I talk about this quite a bit, but if you can record video at 24 frames per second, and if you can make sure that your shutter is 48 or 50, this is going to give you a very natural motion blur. So for example, if I were to change the shutter speed and lower it, things will be extremely choppy. Also, if you bring your shutter speed too high, you're going to have a bit of that music video look. It's going to be capturing too much of the motion. I find that 48 or 180 degree shutter, that's typically what I'm at, is gold. And finally, number 4, I really believe in shooting at your native ISO, and if possible for most cameras, even at this point in time, you want to keep your ISO as low as possible. So not only is recording at a lower ISO going to give you a cleaner image typically, but also it allows you to bring in light. So if you were to crank up your ISO, I'm sure maybe even if you filmed at night and you just crank up the ISO, everything is just blown out. So right now we're at a 1250 ISO, which is the second native on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. It allows us to use lighting, and we don't have to light too much or barely bring in any light. We are lighting things appropriately, and it gives us a lot of control. Not only because it mitigates the grain that you're going to implement in your footage, but filming at a lower ISO gives you a lot of control over your camera. I hope you enjoyed this video. What I want you to do is grab your camera and change your settings to this. So if you can, make sure that you can find these settings, find the resolution, find the frame rate, find your native ISO, make sure that your shutter speed is double your project frame rate. That's all we have for you. Don't forget to tune in every Wednesday and Friday here at Red Cape Learning. We're going to be bringing photo, video, and design episodes for you every day of the week. So if you want to, hit subscribe, smash the like button, and we will see you in the next episode.